Lady Colin Campbell, this is very exciting because you know it's usually me who's asking you the questions, but we have the smartest audience here on Outspoken, and I know you do on your channel too, and I love it when you answer questions of your audience. So today, we've given the Outspoken family the opportunity to ask questions of you. Honestly, I was overwhelmed. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions. So we will do this in a few parts, but let's get straight to them, Lady C, because this AMA is brilliant. You know, AMA stands for Ask Me Anything, by the way. I'm quite new at this world, but it's very, very exciting. So the first question comes from Blue Rose 11, who asked, Dear Lady C, were you ever told by the powers that be to not speak of surrogacy or adoption rumours concerning Meghan's pregnancy? Thank you, Dan and Lady C, for this forum.
No, I was never told any such thing. But in fact, I happened upon the whole question of the extraordinary performance that Meghan treated the world to as a result of, first of all, a friend of mine who was a journalist at Birkenhead, who saw what was going on, and I discounted it. I thought, oh. And even when I wrote my first Meghan and Harry book, although I addressed it, I slightly discounted the whole thing as you know, crazy internet and journalist rubbish, and just left it at that. And then it was when I started my YouTube channel, and that took off in the way it did, that I began to receive information from the public. And they're the ones who focused my attention on what up to then I had discounted. Yeah, look at it. You know, whoever heard of a baby bump being so variable, and not to mention swinging from side to side. Oh, let's do the cha-cha, or shall we do chubby checker? Let's twist again like we never twisted before, sort of thing. And when I realized, I think I must have got tens of thousands of comments, maybe even more, I thought, oh, this, and people started to say to me, you've got to get onto the palace about this. And at that point, I did. I thought actually the palace needs to be alerted to the fact that this is going on. And I don't know who else is being involved with this, and who else is you know, being approached about this. So I won't go into any detail, Dan, because you know how these things work.
Yes.
But I did get in touch at the absolutely most senior level.
Lady Colin Campbell, royal biographer, YouTuber, and fearless commentator, has just admitted she personally alerted the palace over public concerns surrounding Meghan Markle's pregnancy and bump behavior. She says the tipping point wasn't media gossip or tabloid drama. It was thousands, yes, thousands, of public messages and video evidence pointing out how Meghan's baby bump seemed to move, shift, and behave unlike any real pregnancy bump should. From folding to swinging like a pendulum, Lady C finally took those concerns straight to the top. She described it like a comedy sketch. Let's twist again with chubby checker as Meghan's bump seemingly danced during royal appearances.
And that's where I went, and then the ball got bounced back and forth, and I conveyed people's concerns. But at no time have I ever been told I should leave the subject alone.
Fascinating.
But so, and as you pointed out some months ago, that people at radar online were saying that they were in touch with people at the palace who were basically using my name and saying, so because of course it's convenient for them to hide behind my name, because then they can say, oh, ask Lady Colin, and if she, which is that way they get the information across. But if anything goes wrong, their head is not on the chopping block, mine is. But it's I just message just flashed up.
Oh,
so
anything juicy? Anything you want to share with us?
well, yes, it's from the king saying, shut up.
Well, look, on that note, Lady C, this is of a similar theme. So let me get on to this. This is from Linda GZ9ES. These are people's YouTube usernames, right? So I'm just going to give them in full. And Linda says, surely the king or the government can remove these children from the line of succession. The UK deserves to know the truth, surely.
I agree the UK deserves to know the truth. And I think it's really all very simple. If there is no question of the children's entitlement, all the palace needs to do is provide, which they have done with every single other royal birth from 1689 to the present, verifiable proof by the competent authorities that those births were lawfully witnessed and that the children are entitled to the line of succession. All it would take is a simple announcement. This has not been forthcoming. Until it is forthcoming, questions are validly asked and concerns validly exist. Why are those two children in the line of succession when their mother's pregnancy was so bizarre and so unusual, and so the presentation that she afforded the public was so questionable that questions were asked? But the king cannot the king cannot give an order in council or issue letters patent decreeing the children out of the line of succession. Once they were lawfully put into the line of succession, when Harry is the one, it's right there on Archie's birth certificate. And I have spoken to a registrar about this. Harry is the one who registered Archie's birth. Harry is the one who gave the details of Archie's birth. Harry's signature was not required because he was the person who gave the information about the birth of Archie. That information was then corrected because Harry made two mistakes on it. The first mistake was to omit his title of prince. So 3 weeks after Archie's birth, his birth certificate was amended. Under British law, you can only amend a birth certificate. You cannot rescind it or revoke it or change it. You can only amend it. And it can only be amended if there was a genuine error made.
And Lady C makes it clear, she never expected to believe the rumors. But what she saw changed her mind. What's even more shocking, Lady C didn't just speculate online, she went to the most senior level of the royal household. And her message wasn't wild theory, it was a call for transparency. If Meghan's bump wasn't suspicious, why not release the standard royal birth documentation that every other royal has had since 1689? Instead, silence. Not a peep from the palace. No medical statement. No confirmation. Just awkward avoidance.
And the first error was an omission, which was that he was His Royal Highness Henry blah blah blah, Duke of Sussex, and they had to insert the prince. he neglected to see that he was His Royal Highness Prince Henry blah, 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 Duke of Sussex. The second amendment was the removal of information that he had given to the registrar, which was that a woman who, according to his information, went into the hospital as the Duchess of Sussex gave birth to Archie on the 6th of May. And he put his information was that that woman named, who was Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, her forenames were Rachel Meghan. And those forenames were removed. Now, the only reason why those forenames would have been removed is if he had given erroneous information to the effect that the woman who was identified as Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, which presumably whoever gave birth to that child went into the hospital as under the name Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. So leaving that was going to be perfectly correct. But they removed Rachel Meghan, implying that Meghan had not given birth to those children. Now, it is not possible to remove that child from the line of succession once he has a valid birth certificate issued by the registrar in England confirming that he was the product of the union of Meghan and Harry, which is what was issued originally. That needs an act of parliament to have it removed. You can't remove a child from the line of succession just willy-nilly. It would need, more than likely would need an act of parliament. So you would need the politicians, the government of the day, to get involved. How likely is it that you're going to have an this government is sufficiently anti-monarchist that it might well leap at the opportunity to put a bill through Parliament removing that child from the line of succession and Lily from the line of succession. But the royal family and any monarchist would be quite rightly concerned that if you give a thief the key to your jewel case, don't be surprised when he makes off with your jewels. So it would be the height of irresponsibility for the monarchy to try to get those children removed from the line of succession the way the law stands at the moment. A simpler way around all of this would be to have an amendment to the Act of Settlement and various other acts which have followed, including the Statute of Westminster of 1931, which refers to the royal families and the dominions rights, those countries that have the monarch and as the head of state. So that could be done by, in England, an act of Parliament, an amendment to the acts, and then it would require that all the other dominions that signed up to the 1931 Statute of Westminster would also need to come on board. So it's not as simple and straightforward as people seem to think it is.
And here's where things get legally nuclear. Because if Meghan did use a surrogate without disclosure, it raises a constitutional crisis. Are Archie and Lilibet even eligible for the royal succession? Lady C dives into British law, birth certificates, royal titles, and acts of parliament. She points out how Harry himself registered Archie's birth, including later amendments to remove Meghan's full name, which she says implies something was off. But can the king remove them from the line of succession? Nope. Not unilaterally. It would take a full act of parliament and cooperation from all the Commonwealth realms. That's a legal minefield the royals likely want to avoid.
Lady C, I love this question. And you're probably going to kill me because there's no warning for these. You've got no idea what I'm going to ask, so there's no time for you to think. But Nancy J55 asked, if Lady C could have a fabulous dinner party with 8 royals, past or present, who would it be? So you've got 8 royals, Lady C, at your dinner table at Castle Goring. Who are you choosing?
Oh dear. Okay. Well, I'd have to choose an ancestor of mine, the Emperor Charlemagne. I'd have to choose him, if only because I'm descended from him. And he really had the original great empire European. So that's one. I think I would have to have Anne Boleyn. Am I allowed the wives or just the husbands?
Absolutely, you are, yeah.
I'd have to have Anne Boleyn because she was such a mischief maker, and she'd certainly have the pot stirred. Oh, let me think who else. I think I would ask George III. He was a very fine monarch and very intelligent man when he wasn't mad, and he was only mad intermittently. I think I'd have to ask Elizabeth I as well. I suppose maybe we could do with a little bit of scandal. So let's ask the bisexual James I as well. Let me see who else. I wouldn't ask Queen Victoria because she really was a bit of a nightmare. I think I'd ask the Empress Frederick, her sister, who was very bright and intelligent. Let me see who else. Catherine the Great. And we've already asked one homosexual, but we may as well ask another. Frederick the Great. So that's 8. I'd ask them because I'd like to pick their brains and each of them was in. Oh, that's the Empress Frederick, yeah, Crown Princess of Prussia, who was the Princess Royal of England, actually, and Queen Victoria's eldest child. So anyway, those are my 8.
Love it. We've got to press on. Lee Don 76 asks, Harry's visa application had a page redacted. That page was for adoption, trafficking, tax, and security only. Each was totally redacted. What do you make of that?
One viewer asked about Harry's visa application, specifically, a redacted page that covered adoption and trafficking. Lady C doesn't accuse anyone directly, but she raises the same question we all have. Why hide it if there's nothing to hide? If Meghan and Harry used a surrogate and didn't declare it, it would have to be recorded in both UK and US systems. So the mystery deepens. Why redact the paperwork? Why change names on birth certificates? And why do royal watchers have more questions than answers years later? In one of the more unexpected AMA moments, Lady C was asked if Queen Elizabeth II had a marriage in name only with Prince Philip. Her answer? Absolutely not. She says not only was their marriage real, Philip was a flirt, a charmer, and rampantly masculine, but that they genuinely adored each other. As she puts it, the Queen loved her Nookie.
When you have something to hide, maybe you should consider hiding it. Oh, if there's nothing to hide, why hasn't it been revealed? But I do not believe the way things have been handled, that because remember, Lily had not been born when Harry's visa application took place. And there is no way that Archie could have been included in the line of succession if he had been knowingly the product of a surrogacy that Harry and Meghan needed to adopt, because the law is very clear on the subject that your entitlement to a peerage, as opposed to a courtesy title, takes place at the moment of your birth. So if, for instance, Dan, I gave birth to you, and I was, say, a duchess in my own right, and you were the Marquis of New Zealand
Yes.
at birth, and then you're adopted by the Wooten family, you would still be entitled to be the Duke upon my death, even though you were now Dan Wooten.
Got it.
So I do not believe that Archie, that there can be any reason for hiding any adoption process from the American state, or from the people, as a result of any admission that would have been made on the American papers, because it would also be an act of total folly for Archie to be adopted and the British authorities are not made aware of that fact and have him in the line of succession, while the American authorities are made aware of that fact. It would be, to me, it would be such an inconsistent thing that I don't think it's viable.
Lady C, do you fancy a controversial one from Nicola Carr 8429? Do you think, Lady C, that Elizabeth II had a marriage in name only? Allegedly, when Elizabeth and Philip were in Malta, he was a womanizer. My aunt and uncle were stationed with them, and another one of our naval friends used to drive Philip around in his red sports car. He was visiting his female friends.
And no, I'm not making that up. Lady C keeps it very real. From constitutional law to cologne, Lady C keeps us guessing. When asked what perfume she wears, she humbly replies, pure jasmine oil from Dubai, no big brands. When her son suggested bottling it for sale, her response, I'm not Meghan. Savage. Oh, and she'd host Catherine the Great, Elizabeth I, and Anne Boleyn at her dream royal dinner party. Yes, it gets weirdly wonderful. This video raises more than gossip. It raises constitutional questions, legal precedents, and concerns about how far the palace is willing to go to avoid scandal.
Yeah, well, I actually know as a fact they did not have a marriage in name only. I know many people who are related to them, and some very intimately related to them. And I mean, Prince Philip said that the Queen was a real goer. And she loved her Nookie. So,
well, they certainly had a lot of kids.
Yeah, and they definitely did not. So no. I think he certainly he loved women. And I have to tell you, I know that personally. He was a great flirt. And he was a great appreciator of women. Remember, he had 4 elder sisters. He was the afterthought. He was the 5th child. And he was spoiled rotten by his mother, by his sisters. He grew up being adored by women, and he loved women, and women loved him because he had such a knack with women. And he was a flirt as well, but a nice flirt. I'll tell you who else was a great flirt, was Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother.
Oh,
and she
I love that.
Didn't put it around at all. But he would, for instance, he'd see you at something and he'd say, looking good tonight, you know. And I mean, there was something very overtly, and he was very rampant. He was rampantly masculine. And I mean, he just oozed testosterone through every pore. And the 2 sexiest men I've ever met in my life were Prince Philip and Sean Connery. And actually, neither of them put it around.
Interesting.
I know Prince Philip.
Very interesting. Lady C, quick one. This is a quick one, but we've got to do it for Poet Louis. And I'm going to read out what Poet Louis says because it's so sweet. She says, I'd love to know which perfume Lady C wears. I understand not wanting to give exact brand names possibly, but then maybe just an overview of scent notes. Smell is important to me. Sorry if it's weird. Sometimes when people walk past me in the street, I'm like a Bisto kid sniffing the air. So what's your scent, Lady C?
I do not wear branded scent. I wear pure jasmine, which I get in Dubai in big aluminium bottles. And my son Dima has suggested that I sell it, but I don't think I can be bothered.
Don't do it, Meghan. Don't do it, Meghan. Okay, great. There is that answer. Thank you so much.
If Lady C is right, and the evidence keeps piling up, then the monarchy is standing on a ticking time bomb of silence. The truth is simple. If the births were legitimate, show the proof. If not, what are they protecting? And why are critics being dismissed while the questions multiply? All right, fam, it's your turn. Do you believe Meghan used a surrogate? Should Archie and Lilibet remain in the line of succession? Drop your truth bombs in the comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more explosive royal reactions every single week.